this the end or only the beginning? A second chance you never thought you'd get. The question is, will you do something with it or spend your days lost in your regret? This is the story of your life. You decide how the rest is gonna read. This is your chance between the lines to redefine what kind of legacy you leave. This is the story of your life, and it's a story worth telling. Breathe in deep, feel your heart still beating. Let's go see the reason you're alive. You're still here, so love is up to something. Now take your fear and leave it all behind. This is the story of your life. You decide how the rest is gonna read. This is your chance between the lines to redefine what kind of legacy you leave. This is the joy, this is the pain, and all the pages in between. Your finest hour, your weakest moment. It's where you've been, it's where you are, it's where you're going. This is the story of your life. You decide how the rest is gonna read. This is your chance between the lines to redefine what kind of legacy you leave. This is the story of your life. Go tell the story of your life, 'cause it's a story worth telling. Is this the end or only the beginning?
We're really lucky to have Erin today because usually she's at Seattle Unity where she's the music director, so yay for us. Yay. And I asked her if she had CDs to sell because notice she's got a really good voice, but she sells them on her website. You can talk to her about that. She said she'd much rather talk to people than stand behind a table and sell CDs. God bless that woman. Isn't she wonderful? So how are you doing? Isn't it seem like a strange time? Doesn't it just sort of strange? Like the hectic's over, but we haven't really gotten back to things. Like if you go to work, doesn't it seem like a strange kind of like, what do you get done? Who's home? Who's available? Just God bless this time. I call it Tween time. And because it seems to be betwixt and between. It's not quite this, it's not quite that. The year seems over, but it really hasn't begun. So this is a great time to rewrite the story. So I'm grateful that we do have a producer that talks. I never ever, well, except for sometimes. I never ever accept. If anybody says never ever, don't trust them. Seldom on Sundays, seldom do I ask for certain music. But it seems like the music always enhances what I'm going to talk about. So I'm over there listening and going, wow, that fits my talk so perfectly. We listen to the same producer. There is something in charge. There is an intelligence that's working. So we're going to talk about stories a little bit later. But before I do that, I getting ready for this talk, I was reminded of something, and I think I'll share it with you because there may be others of you that have had similar experiences or might be in a similar experience right now. About 18 years ago, I should have wrote that book 18 years ago. Man, I'd be in India. That's where I'd be if I wrote that book. But I read a book called In the Meantime. I don't even remember who it was by, and I don't remember most of it. But I think it only said one thing. It was a big book. It said one thing. So I'll just give you the one thing, and then you don't have to read the whole book. Basically, it said that in the time between prayer and manifestation, in the time between intention and fulfillment, in that time, you get to manage that time. It's the in-between time, in the meantime. And the best way to manage it is to be satisfied with that time. Because the more we're dissatisfied with that time, the more we push off what we're going towards. And if you've taken Beyond Limits, it makes kind of sense, because if consciousness is cause and we are unhappy with our present moment, we have unhappiness in our consciousness. And if we have unhappiness in our consciousness, we will continue to perpetuate unhappiness. Does that make sense? I don't care either way, but give me something. All right, good. So I say that because we will be shifting gears very soon, and on New Year's Eve and on the 3rd, we're going to look at intentions and what you would like to have in the next year. And then you get to manage the in-between time. You get to manage the in the meantime, and to be satisfied with the process. I think that we are, this is the best of times and the worst of times. It's the best of times because we have so much at our disposal. It's also the worst of times because we have so much at our disposal. So we can actually forget how the universe works. And the universe works the way nature works. Nature does things in a rhythm and in its own time. But we've gotten used to instant. So we want instant. We want prayer and instant. Sort of like that wonderful gentleman. Can I just say, there's a warrant for your arrest. I'll make you a court time. Pretty instant. But for a lot of us, it doesn't happen that quickly. The reason I was reading that particular book was because I was waiting for the love of my life. I was waiting for the one. I wanted the one. And I had done everything for the one. And I was getting very impatient that the one hasn't shown up yet. So I needed a book on what to do in the meantime. But if you think about it, I was also being influenced even less than I could be today, because we're so used to instant. If you're hungry, you can drive through, past a restaurant, pay in one window and pick up the food in the next. If you're bored, you can get anything you want on your smartphone. You can watch last week's sitcom. You can watch all of the Game of Thrones. I mean, there is no reason to ever be bored again in your life because there's instant entertainment. If you want money, there's most likely you can go online, click some things, and there'll be money deposited in your account. Instant. We're so used to that. But that's not the way things always work. If we lived in a more agricultural society, we would know that you plant, it grows, and it'll come up in its own good time. But it will come up. And what do you do in the meantime? You get ready for the harvest. Because if you don't have equipment ready for the harvest, it doesn't matter what comes up if you can't harvest it. So we forget that. And so part of the meantime getting ready is to be happy in this moment, because the happy, content soul can take in the good. if I sat down with any of you, and we talked, there would be so much good in your life because I would help you harvest it. But I think we forget, don't we? We forget that we've been blessed over and over and over again, probably just this morning. So in the meantime, we find a place of contentment and gratitude and await, as Ernest Holmes said, with glad anticipation, the fulfillment of our prayers. That's my little meantime talk. It's not my talk. Just prelude to a talk. What I really want to talk about is this very holy time that we're in. It seems like a dip. Doesn't it seem like a dip? Don't you feel like you just dipped? Maybe it's the fall from sugar. But I feel like there was hectic, until we go back into the year. It seems like a dip time. So I call this holy time because we can make it holy time. The Jewish people have holy time. When the Jewish people lost for the last time their temple, and that had been the holy place where everybody would go to, and you would go to that holy place, sort of like people now go to Mecca. They would go to the temple. They were obliged to go to the temple for certain rituals and on certain high holy days. But when they lost the temple, it was almost like there was a blessing in that loss, because then they created holy time. They created holy time. They said, holy time. This time to this time is holy time. That day and that day and that day is holy time. So let's just call this holy time. If one group of people could do it, we could do it. And holy times means that it's whole, complete, and perfect, and we can have a greater realization of our own wholeness in this time. So this is the time when we can recognize greater wholeness. Ready? There's 4 of you. I could take you out to lunch. And the rest of you, Erin, sing away, and I'm going to go work with the 4 people that are ready. Now, this is important because I've watched myself and I've watched others, and oftentimes we want to move into something new without closing out what needs to be closed out. I'm not talking about patterns. We've already talked about patterns. I'm just talking about things that need to be let go of. Instead of letting go of it, we just build on it. It's like the Winchester house of consciousness. And houses and consciousness are the same in dreams and in mythology. A house represented consciousness. So if you think about the Winchester house, so for those of you who don't know it, it was this eccentric woman who had a fortune, Winchester fortune. And so she started building this house and just kept building the house. And the house made no sense. It didn't matter. Let's just build another room. Oh, it doesn't connect to anything? So, stairways to nothing, hallways that go nowhere. But it must have been fun. I'm not sure what she's doing. All sorts of theories. Does not matter. But you got the picture, right? Well, I realized recently while I was in Peru that I have a Winchester house of consciousness. Just rooms after rooms after rooms of beliefs and stories and everything else that is so big and unwieldy that when I could see it in my mind, it was like, I'm surprised I could fit anywhere. Because I was carrying all my stories with me. My beliefs, my prejudices, carrying them around and trying to fit in. And it kept me insulated, but it also kept me from connecting and being present anywhere. I wasn't really present. I was seeing everything through my stories. To give you an idea of what that was like, how many of you have ever had, well, probably recently, if you had anything arrive recently in a package, you know those styrofoam bubbly things? Now, some of them are small bubbles. Those are so much fun. Oh, how many of you just gone? Oh, no one else? Praise God. Now, we'll go to lunch later. So, big bubbly things, but then they've got these ones now that are long, tubular, and big fat. That's That's what consciousness is like. Rooms of beliefs filled with nothing of importance that keep you from ever really connecting with another person or even connecting with what's going on. Just bubble wrap everywhere. And today, let's just stick a pin in a few. Just hear it pop now. See, let me tell you how this all got started in this bubble wrap experience. But before I do that, I need to talk about the body more, because I gave you an image and you identified with that. But it's my goal to always speak from spirit, mind, and body, or body, mind, and spirit, to bring all of it together, because if we're ever living out of one plane and not all of it, we don't have a holy experience. It's not holistic. It's not complete. And many modalities or teaching technologies will address one area, but not all three. So before I start with mind and spirit, mind is already involved because it's paying attention to what I'm saying. Oh, how are we going to put this pan in this? But I want to start with the body. This is a perfect time to start letting go of the stuff that you have in your worldly body. Not just the physical body, but your physical space. This is a perfect time to let go of the stuff in your physical space. Say that 9 times fast. Physical space. And it doesn't have to be big. You don't have to take the Japanese route where you put everything you own in the middle of the floor and then decide what to keep. That would make me throw up. I mean, really. Even the thought of the book makes me want to throw up. It's too much. I would be overwhelmed. But I can do a little bit at a time. I think I actually started when my sister and I spent a large portion of one of my summer vacations, in fact, it was the year before last, cleaning out my mother's home. My mother got to the place where she couldn't live by herself anymore, and Lisa and I then went in to release things from her house. I was amazed what she had. I was amazed. You know those little tongy things that you can use for salads and picking up ribs, and 20 of them. My mother hadn't cooked for years. But see, it had been tucked away and not even looked at. And I decided then that if something happens to me and I have to go someplace, whether it's in the ground or to recovery for something, I do not want people to have to go through my 50 years of accumulated stuff. So almost every time I leave the house, I have a sack of stuff that I put in the back of my car. And when the back of my car is filled, I take it to Goodwill. I'm never overwhelmed, but I always feel like I'm becoming fresher and freer with every trip out of the house. Now, why do I say this? Because that's pretty much a body thing. This is something that you could get online or read in a book. The reason I'm saying it is when you start to eliminate stuff in your space, you give your body permission to eliminate things out of your inner space. There is 12 powers of spiritual powers in the human body, and elimination is one of them. And it gets activated through prayer by saying that I am now powerful in my ability to eliminate, and also by then eliminating things as much as you can. Go through your purse. I mean, it's sad. I have expired gift cards from 10 years ago. I think I should let them go. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, because I haven't looked, I haven't eliminated. Now the body needs to let things go. You know what cancer is? Cancer is a cell that belonged to the body that got wild and crazy, and the body didn't let it go. We should be letting things go. We should let the toxins go. We should be able to let the things that no longer serve the body go. And one of the ways to activate that is letting the things that are in your physical space that no longer serve you go. And boy, it makes a difference. If you want more information about that, there's a great book by Kathianne Ponder. It's called Healing Secrets of the Ages. It's exceptional. We studied it when a group of us went to Greece. And it's amazing, the power of it. So I encourage you to do that study on your own. But we'll start with the body. Let things in your physical space go, and you'll start to let things in your body go. The things that are supposed to be eliminated, they're no longer useful. Then you go into your closet. And by this I mean spiritually, the closet is that private space that you can have within yourself. So Jesus said, always pray in your closet. Go into your closet and pray. Have you ever seen any ancient homes? And there were no closets. I dare you to find a closet. Find an ancient home with a closet. You won't find one. There were none. The translation was your private space. Your private space inside your head. The next part of this little talk is about what's in your head. What do you hold in your consciousness? We go there. Ready? So we've done the inner outer stuff. Now we're going to do the inner stuff. And here are 3 things that you might want to look for in your private space. The first one is prejudices. Just ask yourself if you have a prejudice. Children weren't born with prejudices. No child is born looking at another baby and saying, wow, ooh, blondie. I bet you're stupid. How many blonde babies does it take to unscrew a light bulb? See, I can make fun of blondes in my current hair color. I mean, don't we have prejudices? And I love this one woman. She was so sweet. After first service, she said, well, how can I let go of a prejudice if I really hate them? Well, it's funny, but someone else is thinking it. And I said, you hate them because you have a prejudice. Now, prejudice to give up that prejudice doesn't mean you have to, have them as your best friend. But it does mean that you let them be who they are. And when you let that prejudice go, hate goes. I don't know who you have in your family, but I know in my family, I still have people who hate certain people. Yet they've never had anything to do with those people. But they have a prejudice that they acquired somewhere along the line. And that prejudice says that those people are bad, but they don't even know those people. And everyone's a mixed bag. Aren't we a mixed bag? Did you notice that you're a mixed bag? Have you had good days and bad days? Have you had good behavior and bad behavior? We're all a mixed bag. If I have a prejudice, then I have some of that coding that I could never really see the person as they are or appreciate who they are because I've got this prejudice. One of the reasons I love going to Egypt is I fell in love with people who love God as much as I do. But if I had a prejudice against people who worship in a way that's not like me, then I'd never be able to love them as I love them because we all love the same God. prejudice is just more coding. Someone recently, and it may be somebody in this room, and I don't remember the person, I know it was a woman, and she said, I really think we should have a class on Islam because I'm finding myself not liking them. Because we're buying into the cultural prejudice. But boy, I bet if most of the people that we met, most of the Muslims we met, we would like them because they're people. Name any religion you want, and I bet I could find a bad one in it. Right? Because we're a mixed bag. A prejudice keeps us from being in the moment where we are, knowing as God knows. The next thing to look at and to perhaps give up today is a story that's part of your history, but it's no longer history, it's present to that story. That story keeps the thing alive. Stories keep things current and operating. I know people that if I mention a thing, it's like putting in a coin to one of those little monkeys, at an old time fair. You put in the coin and the monkey goes, meow, 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 meow. And you say a certain thing and the story comes up and it's the exact same words as they used the last time. And then they're done. Only a few people have people like that in your world. See, for me, I always had a story going on, but at least I thought I was mature enough not to tell you the story. But it still kept going. Certain things would happen, and inside my head I was going. But luckily, I had that one of my huge stories healed in Peru. No matter what was going on, and maybe it's because I lost everything that I thought was of importance and valuable, I was ready to lose the story that I'd been hanging on to for at least 40 years. So I was in the presence of a shaman, Wyra, and in his presence, I remembered the same old story, the same story. Oh my God, the same story. It's like, I have worked with so many practitioners and so many therapists, and every time I have an issue, it's that same story. So there it was. And there it was. But with Wyra, what happened was that I saw the story as the story, and the Christ presence dissolved the story. So I can still see it, but it has no power over me. I've been healed. And I say that because Wyra believes in the power of Pachamama, which is the divine feminine. And since we teach our children, and so we need to remember this too, there is no place where God is not. That same divine feminine, which is the power to heal and the power to reveal and the power to teach, is available right here. I don't have to go to Peru. You don't have to go to Peru. I don't ever want to go to Peru again. There's the presence, the possibility of healing, just like I had that possibility of healing. To see it and be done with it. To totally be done with it. Now, so my story was that I did not have an inner child that went rampant. My inner child was really quite sweet. So when people say, hey, my inner child, I need to heal my inner child. No, my inner child was great. My inner teenager needed some healing. Because when I was 12 and 13, my mother was going through some very, very difficult times, and she honestly did not have the bandwidth to even know I existed. She just didn't have the bandwidth. She didn't have it in her to be able to look at me and see what was going on for me and what I needed. She just didn't have it. How many of you have had that at least once, where you knew you should be there for someone, but it was like having the wind knocked out of you and you couldn't take an in-breath? I think that happens for people. So there's no blame. But the 12 and 13-year-old Kathianne had no idea what to do with that, except that there was something really wrong with her, that Mama didn't see her. So I have lived most of my life actually feeling quite invisible. Now, you would never look at me and think that I thought that, would you? No, compensation's good, but exhausting. I had prayed and talked and wanted to be free of that for as long as I became a conscious adult. But Spirit knows how to make that happen. And I'll work with you in a minute on anything that you may have as well. In fact, let's just talk about it now. See, Wyra also believes in body, mind, and spirit. So he didn't just do a prayer like our practitioners do, and practitioners aren't supposed to touch people. But he was really good. So he took a feather and banged it on my head. And then he took rattles and shook them all around me. Can you imagine how the body's getting involved now? And then he took this water, lemony stuff. Oh, baby. He puts it in his mouth and spits it on me. Now, I want you to know that holy person spit is worldwide. Jesus spit in the mud and put it on a person. Holy people have been spitting on people for thousands of years. So I got spit on. I won't do that to you. But can you see that that would certainly shake up the body? In a moment, we're going to do something to help you shake up the body. And I won't spit on you. But don't ever go to a retreat with me. You sign a waiver, and there you go. So we've looked at our prejudices and our story. And the last thing, which is very kind of ties up in all of that, because you can't love yourself any more than you can love other people. And the stories usually make us feel bad about ourselves. And the more we tell the story, the more we will have self-judgment. But the self-judgment is triggered, and then the story goes. You see, so all of these are kind of like all together in a stew. We'll call this the tween year stew. In between things, we got this stew going, which is prejudices, focused outward, stories that keep reoccurring, and then self-judgment, which can be tied to either prejudice or tied to the story. So we're going to take a deep breath. And everybody got a piece of paper? Great. Just as Wyra believed in the holiness of Pachamama, the Divine Mother, then I just know that the Divine presence of the feminine is here, and it is the original teacher. It's been known as things like Isis and Sophia and wisdom and the Holy Ghost and the Holy Spirit. It can be known by so many beautiful names, but it's just as present in this place as it is in Peru. So take the paper and ask yourself, but ask your deeper wisdom self, what prejudice is it time to release? Do you have a prejudice that you can now release? Write that down. And now let the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost reveal to you a story that crops up and takes over in your head. And write that down. And now let that same feminine teacher reveal to you a judgment you've had against yourself. A self-judgment that it's time to let go of. What self-judgment can you now let go of? And can you see how, especially the story and the judgment, all sort of circle on each other? So if you let go of the circle, the judgment, and you didn't let go of the story, it would crop up again. But if you let go of the story and not the judgment, it'll crop up again. So it's really important to let both go. So I got to let go of the story, which also let go of the judgment that I'm not important. So who has something written down? And for those that have something written down, we've got this wonderful, holy, sacred ceremony for you. So I would like you to go through this line, and I'm going to hit you over the head. No. But boy, I got plans. No, I don't. We're not going to do that New Year's Eve. But next year, I'm thinking about it. By next year, we'll get a bunch of feathers. I want you to have the opportunity to get your body involved, just as Wyra got my body involved, whether I wanted to or not. I was starting to have a physical experience of being cleansed. I'd like you to have the opportunity, you certainly don't have to do it, to have the physical experience of letting something go, of saying, no, I'm done, it's finished, this is complete. So, we have recycle cans up here. And I will be taking all of this back with me home, and I'm either going to burn them or bury them, whatever's here. But they will go back to the Mother Earth. Let her take care of it, because she's powerful. But you're going to listen to this song, and you have a choice how you come up here. You can come up here like, and actually, if you like that kind of stuff, we're going to have it's always good to do that, but go home and burn a bowl or something. Is it bowl burning? What do they call it? Burning bowl. Burn a bowl later. But we're not doing burning bowls today. What we're going to do is use your body to express your enthusiasm for letting this stuff go. The prejudice, the story, the judgment. Today's the day you say enough. So as you want, when you want, deliver your judgments, prejudices, and stories to the recycle bin. Oh, it's very holy. To the holy recycle bin.
Oh, oh, I got to let go. Oh, oh, I got to let go. Oh, oh, I got to let go. If I want to fly. Oh, yeah. Oh, 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 I got to let go. Oh, oh, I got to let go, yeah. Oh, oh, I got to let it go. If I want to fly, I sing hallelujah. I sing hallelujah. I sing hallelujah. I sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. I sing hallelujah. I sing hallelujah. I sing hallelujah. Oh, oh, I got to let go. Oh, oh, I got to let go. Yeah. Oh, oh, I got to let go. If I want to fly, if I want to fly, oh, 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 I got to let go, got to let it all go, go, oh, I got to let go, yeah. Oh, oh, I got to let it if I want to fly. Oh, yeah, I sing hallelujah. 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 I sing hallelujah.
Oh, I'll tell you. Whoa. So, I just bless. Oh, can you feel the difference in the air, by the way? Doesn't it feel lighter, like freer? Like some of that padding is gone? Well, you can do this over and over again. But I will say it's more powerful in a group, because if your mind says, I don't believe, there's a bunch of people that do, and since consciousness is cause, you can absorb the faith of others. That's why worship goes on. That's why people gather together, because there's something more potent about collective consciousness than individual consciousness. I'm not sure I would have been able to do what happened in Peru if Wyra wasn't there witnessing my freedom, witnessing it. So I witnessed your freedom. I celebrate your holy yes to being free, and the holy no to what you let go of. You know, a lot of people, there's even books out about always say yes. Oh, heck no. No, say no. Say no to a lot of stuff. Say no to time drags and people that want to suck your energy. Say no to those habits that spiral you downwards. Say no to more judgments. Now that you've let one judgment go, you're going to start recognizing others because they probably had friends. There's cousins. Lots of cousins. And you'll start seeing them and you go, no, no, no. The stories will come up and you go, no, 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 no. Now hear those things pop. Hear them? No, 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 no. You just start it and it becomes the new habit. No. You don't support my magnificence. No, that's not the truth of me. No, that's not true of God. It's not true of me. No, I will not believe that. No, I will not succumb. No, no, and no. That's what you just did. And it's a holy no. No. You can't rule me unless I give you the power, and I just took it back. That's what you say to all those little things, those judgments, those prejudices. Because if you are prejudiced against another, there's a part of you that's prejudiced against yourself. And a house divided cannot stand. So I bless the power that you claimed for yourself today. And I bless the continuation of the holiness of this day and your power to say yes and no, and so it is.